You're going to both pull in the ends. You're going to close the scissors. There. 1, 2, 3. London.
Get on the program, right?
Yep. In fact, he had it planned out after high school, wherever he was going.
Didn't have enough credit to graduate in December. He wants to.
Yeah.
He may be wrapped up in college life.
Well, I know he's
Hey, right here. Back it.
One up.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. Is it working, Rachel?
It is.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a monumentous occasion in the city of Salina. My name is Eric Brown. I am the president and CEO of the Salina Area Chamber of Commerce. It is my honor to be able to MC this and introduce you to some of the most important folks that made this project happen here in the city. With that, I will get out of the way. We'll jump right into it here. I do want to introduce to you, speaking first, the mayor of this great city, Dr. Trent Davis. Help us welcome him.
Good afternoon, and commissioners, come on closer. I didn't feel right taking I'm not taking all the credit, but even speaking for the commission, we have the whole entire Salina commission here. It's appropriate that we all stand. It's above 40 degrees, so you're going to get the long version. I had a shorter version. By sheer luck of the draw, I'm humbly honored to serve as Salina's mayor on the day that Salina dedicates its new downtown streetscape. My fellow city commissioners and I have benefited from the work of prior commissions and embraced the duty of sharing opinions, resolving differences of opinion, and reading volumes of project-specific literature into the wee hours of the night. We then make those hard financial and ideological decisions that have resulted in this beautiful change to Salina's landscape. Each separate commission is but a link in a long chain of progress. To our predecessors, this commission thanks you for the guiding steps that have brought us to today. To paraphrase Napoleon Hill, if you can conceive it and believe in it, you can achieve it through faith. Faith puts you in the position to be able to receive blessings and gifts. We have received gifts, tangible and otherwise, from names you may or may not be familiar with. Entities such as Salina 2020, State of Kansas Star Bonds, the Federal New Market Tax Credit, Blue Beacon, Salina Regional Health Center, Salina Regional Foundation, Salina Area Chamber of Commerce, and our initial pioneers downtown, Old Chicago, the Alley, the Hilton, of course my personal favorite, KU Medical School and Nursing School. Salina legacy families and community leaders such as the Walker family, Veneers, Larry Bridigan and Michael Terry. Our downtown merchants and businesses who have weathered the construction storm on the face of prosperity ahead. Our hometown eateries that have continued to serve the faithful who are able to hop over the construction cones to get a good meal or beverage. The new Lee residences as a message that downtown is for living as well as for entertainment. The construction crews that have tried their very best to keep the street open as much as possible during construction. The Grand Dame of downtown Salina, the Steeple Theater, who has kept her doors open and lights on throughout the transformation. And every one of the citizens here who have trusted on faith our decisions as your commissioners that have kept momentum and your tax dollars moving in the right direction. There are some other names that you might not recognize and names that don't always get credit for the hard work that they do. Names like former city manager Jason Gage and our current department heads, Martha Tasker, Dean Andrew, Jim Kowach, Debbie Pack, Lauren Driscoll, Daniel Stack, Brad Nelson, Kevin Royce, City Attorney Greg Benston, and the hundreds of tenaciously dedicated staff of the City of Salina that I owe an apology for not calling by name today. These employees have given more than the time we pay them for, but also their ideas, inspiration, dream intrusion, and willingness to do things over and over until we get it right, for which there's no possible way we can compensate them. There is one individual, however, who from day one has done the heavy lifting behind the scenes, from the infrastructure below the street to the rooftop lighting above, and is now the face of the City of Salina, our city manager, Mike Scrape. Without his leadership and dedication to inclusiveness and detail, we would not be standing here today. And all of us know that we owe a special debt of gratitude to his executive assistant, Holly McCain, who keeps all of our right hands knowing what our left hands are doing. There's an old saying, it ain't bragging if you can back it up. So, look what we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Thank you for your leadership. Congratulations on winning your re-election again. Individual that is also served on the City Commission. He's coming into his last month. He decided not to run again, but we do thank him for his leadership and help us welcome Commissioner Joe Hay.
Thank you. You know, when I was elected 2 years ago, one of the first meetings I was on, we started talking about the streetscape downtown. I was excited to be a part of this. I had multiple citizens tell me, don't waste our money. But I also had multiple citizens tell me, we need this. I seen it as an investment for the future of Salina, for our children, and for our grandchildren. Our downtown is beautiful and will be for years to come. Again, thank you, Salina 2020, Downtown Incorporated, the Chamber, the State of Kansas, and all of its citizens. Enjoy your downtown.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, the man that may know more about new market tax credit than anyone in Kansas. He has done a lot of work behind the scenes of making sure this happens for the City of Salina. So help us welcome current City Manager Mike Scrape.
Thank you. The point I want to make early on is all my work was just trying to keep up with Salina 2020. They were the ones that had the vision. As a city manager, this is an opportunity of a career to be involved with a project like this. And so as city managers, you give extra thought to the community that you want to go to work for and move your family to. And Salina made a good impression from the outset. And as I go to conferences and meet other city managers, I frequently get asked, how did you pull off that downtown project? And I'm not exaggerating that that's asked with a sense of awe and envy and a little bit of jealousy. People wanting to know how we were able to make this happen. And I'm quick to point out three things. One is just Salina's history of entrepreneurialism and can-do attitude. I could go on project after project, and what I would tell you is as I looked at the community, the things that were pointed out to me were Dean Evans Stadium, the Magnolia Soccer Complex, the Salina Community Theater, the Steeple Theater, all as examples of how this community, when they want to accomplish something, will make it happen. And so it starts with that. The second thing that I point out is the private sector involvement. This is another just amazing example of private individuals putting in their time, their energy, and their resources to make something happen to their community at no personal financial gain, which is amazing. And then thirdly is the courage of our elected officials to make some of the tough decisions that Commissioner Hay pointed out. This was not a unanimous project that received unanimous support. This was a difficult decision in many occasions. And then lastly, as we put the financing together and looked at the numbers, again, the private sector, Blue Beacon in particular, stepped up and bought bonds that are subordinate and represent a financial risk for them because they believed in this project as much as they do. And so one point that was made as we were trying to make this decision and kind of revisit whether this was the right decision, and it was made by one of our financial advisors, is this is a generational project, and I believe that. I've heard so many stories from so many people about memories of the way things were in Salina, or when something was built, installed, something changed. This is one of those significant generational projects that I hope we all look back on as a source of pride, as a significant step forward for our community. And I think we and our children and our future residents all have plenty of opportunity to be proud of what we've accomplished. As I said, I've joked before, my whole role in this was to stay out of the way and not screw it up. There was a strong vision from Salina 2020. It started with the field house. Brian Richardson was a driving force behind that. He had the vision to go get the property acquired and sell a public-private partnership for the field house. Then Salina 2020 recognized that as a way to leverage star bonds. Star bonds then became a community improvement district. That was a marketing effort all down through the downtown, and our merchants supported that by signing on to the petition to form the community improvement district. Then we had the key increment, we called them the key increment generators. The Alley, the hotel, Old Chicago were the ones that were willing to stick their neck out and go first. Now we're seeing the momentum of that vision really start to take off. And as I said, I just feel blessed to be able to have this as part of a project that I was able, this is a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-career project for a city manager. And I just feel blessed to have the private sector involvement and the courageous commissioners to make it happen.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your leadership. Stay out of the way and don't screw it up. That's my new quote. Might be my new motto. Excuse me. Mike knows a lot about the financing, everything that happens above ground. This next gentleman, he is the Director of Public Works for the City of Salina. So when Smoking Hill was tearing up and putting back in everything on the streetscape, he was the man that was making sure they understood exactly what was happening and was in charge of it all. So let me welcome, again, Director of Public Works, Mr. Jim Kowash.
Like Mike said, we tried not to screw it up. We first and foremost need to thank Salina 2020 and the folks that had the vision to do the preliminary study for a better downtown. That in conjunction with the infrastructure needs for downtown. Martha Tasker, our utilities director, jokes about the new water lines being downtown were 80 years old. They were 80 to 100 years old. So we not only built a new downtown from the ground up, it's actually from below the ground. There's thousands and thousands of feet of new water lines that will give good clean water to the businesses downtown, and also provide the fire protection for businesses to grow and prosper down here. I would like to thank the mayor and the commissioners and the city manager for all their support during the project. The funding there were a lot of options and alternates considered when we let the project originally, and they stepped up and they wanted to have the best and biggest project that they could afford, and they actually funded all of the new plazas and the colored lights on the overhead structure, which, by the way, will be lit for the first time at 6 p.m. tonight as part of the parade. And if they don't come on, I was never here. There's a dedication plaque behind me that has a few names, but really, we could fill every column on every structure down here with all the names of the people that contributed to the project's success. From the people that live and work down here on a daily basis, and they put up with the dust and mud for 2 years, to the men who work days and nights putting it all together and making sure that we could keep front doors open on Monday mornings and traffic going through all week long. I would like to say a few more thank yous, and pardon me if I leave you out, because like I said, it could be thousands of people that contributed. The project manager for the city was Dan Stack. He not only helped all the way through the design process, but during construction. and that's in addition to his normal duties as our city engineer. So thank you, Dan. We had several inspectors out here, but the key inspector for us was Mark Lindsley. Martha Tasker had her folks out here with the utilities before, during, and after working on the water lines. And like I said, most of those are 80 to 100 years old. The project would not have been a success without a good quality contractor. And fortunately for us, we have one right here from Salina that did the project and did, I think, the city proud. Smoky Hill Construction. In particular, Kim Brown, the president, Steve Bartholomew, the vice president, Mike Teeters, our superintendent, and then Rick Brown, the public liaison that worked with all of the merchants downtown on the scheduling and all of the issues that came up during construction. This project would not have been nearly as successful if we hadn't had their dedication to providing a good project. Smoky Hill didn't do it alone. They had a lot of quality subcontractors working on this project, and we'd like to thank each and every one of them. Sillisons and Sons, Precision Electric, and I want to thank Carlin particularly. He taught me a lot about electricity on this project. And he's another one. If they don't come on, you don't know it. Landscape Consultants, Vendor Steel, Hearthstone, L&S Electric, APAC, Pete Garcia Masonry, and Vortex. All of those contractors contributed to make this project a success. It wouldn't have been a success without a quality set of plans for those contractors to construct by. And finally, we'd like to thank HDR for their contributions to the project. Simon Son was the manager of engineering, and Troy Henningsen was with us through the design and construction as the landscape architect. So I'd like to thank HDR Engineering. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. I hope you stay and enjoy the parade. It's not that cold. So hopefully 6 o'clock we'll all be pleasantly surprised.
Thank you, Jim. Job well done. This next individual I want to introduce you to sent me an email earlier this week from the Salina Journal. In 1969, the chamber put on its top of its list to develop downtown, redevelop downtown, and all it said is it only took you 50 years. So, mission accomplished. But what that does prove is that these types of projects don't happen in a vacuum. It takes a lot of people to get this done, a lot of partners, and everyone you've heard. One of the biggest partners, if not the biggest partners that helped move this forward is Salina 2020. So I want to introduce to you Mr. Larry Bridigan of Salina 2020.
There's so many people to thank, and I just can't say enough about Trace Walker and his family. Trace and I, for years, have talked about doing a redevelopment in downtown Salina, and he simply called one day, said he had an idea. We went to lunch, and he said, you know, if we're ever going to do this, now's the time to do this, and somebody has to. I really appreciated that a lot, because it forced us to do something that I think a lot of people didn't think was possible to get accomplished. And Trace and I probably get a lot more credit than we deserve, and his son Guy Walker probably should get more credit than either one of us combined, because Guy was always behind the scenes doing so much with the city and our legal counsel, and was a big part of this downtown project. The Salina 2020 group is a group of people just like you. They trusted us with their money and said, okay, without any guarantees of this coming together. And I think that says a lot about people that call Salina home. It's what this community is all about. Also, I think we have to thank the citizens of Salina for their support. So many times when you do something like this, I think it's difficult. And we had town meetings. We had meetings where they could come in and give their input on different designs for the streetscape. And so I think they felt they had some ownership in this too. And we just got very little pushback from citizens on going forward with this project. And you know, there's a lot of young people in the audience today, and the one thing I'd like to say to them is someday it's going to be your turn to help move the city forward too. And you'll have that opportunity as you get older. And it doesn't really matter what role you have in life, what job you have. It's simply just getting involved and doing something that can make the community better. And I think that's what Salina's always been about. And I think we'll continue to be that way. So I want to thank citizens from the Salina 2020 standpoint. And I think we really want to thank Salina 2020 and the cooperation with the city and all the other folks we had to work with. And Kim Brown and his company, I think if we've heard one thing from Downtown Merchants, that their staff was unbelievable. And doing the best they absolutely could to keep the businesses going through a tough time of downtown construction. And I just think they deserve another round of applause because they were awesome. And with that, I'll turn it over to my friend Trace and do
Much I can say without being repetitive, a couple of things maybe worth repeating, and that is the people that were even before Salina 2020 that had a vision, and that was, I think, Jim Wilson to do the assurance partners and Brian Richardson to get a hold of that property and have a vision for something that was just maybe more than the rest of us were thinking about at the time. So I really tip my hat to them. They really were the ones that got it kicked off, and then of course all the 20 people that were gracious enough to contribute and work on this. But and then the other thing I would mention is that sometimes our city officials and city staff are much around. We sometimes joke with each other that maybe I don't work as hard as the private sector, but let me tell you what, the city staff and John and others, I felt really nice that they worked it out right. And we have deadlines approaching for certain phases of this project. So we're very fortunate to have a staff continue to work that hard. So I just want to thank them, and I would just say that with this opportunity, we're getting a long way to go now. We work together with some staff. So just remember, shop downtown, eat downtown next Christmas season, and
and thank you to all the partners that made this possible. Up next on the docket, we are going to do a ribbon cutting, so we're going to jump right into that. So hold tight for a second while we get that prepared. Thank you.